Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video I will be reviewing the Norvina Volume 4 palette. So if you would like to see how I created this eye look as well as hear my opinions on this palette, then please keep watching. So I recently received the Norvina Volume 4 in PR. So I thought I would just do a little review on this palette, as I know a lot of people were saying that it's patchy and it just doesn't live up to the quality of the other Norvina volumes. So I know I did play with this. I created the same look I have here yesterday and I just wasn't happy with the video. So I really did have a few issues when first using this, but now that I've figured out how it works perfectly. So I'm going to talk a bit about that in today's video while recreating this look on this eye. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and prime my eyelid. I prime my eyelids every time I apply eyeshadow. It just helps the eyeshadow stick to your skin better. It just helps the color pay off. It is what you should be doing. So for today I'm going to be using the Catrice Liquid Camouflage Concealer. So I'm just going to carve out the bottom of my eyebrow as well as prime my eyelid with this. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I do anything that involves steady lines, I have to literally hold my breath. It's ridiculous. Okay, so basically I played around with this palette yesterday and I really struggled the first time I was applying it. So the method I used was I packed on all the colors and then started blending it out, and it really just wouldn't blend. It was going patchy and it was not my day. So obviously that method really just wasn't working for this palette. The colors were probably setting and then I was just packing more on and the shadow just said no. So what I did was I redid this eye. I used a different primer. And what I did was I packed and blended at the same time instead of packing everything on and then going in again and trying to blend everything. So that's the method I'm going to be using with this palette today. As you can see, it worked out pretty well on this eye. I'm obsessed with how this came out, so hopefully it looks as good on the other one. So this is the color scheme of the palette. This is what we have to work with. I think it's really beautiful. It does remind me a lot of the original Norvina palette. The color scheme is very similar with the shimmery purples and the light browns. One thing I am going to say is I do wish there were a lot more deeper shadows in this palette. So for starters, I'm just going to take a piece of tape and I'm going to stick that on the outer edge of my eye. So what this is going to do is it's just going to help you get a really crisp winged shape. So now that my tape is on, the first color I'm going to go in with is the shade E4. This is a deep berry plum kind of color. So what I'm going to do with this eyeshadow is I'm going to start packing it on the outer corner and then blending it upwards into my crease. And then I'm going to pick a bit more up and carry on doing that until I have it blended on my outer V as well as inwards into my inner corner. So the brush I'm using today is the Anastasia A14. This is literally my favorite blending brush. My favorite blending brush. It's my favorite blending brush. So I will say, out of all four of the big Norvina palettes I have, I do think that this one along with the first one are probably my top two favorites. I really like the pink and purple color scheme. This one in particular, the shimmers are so beautiful. You can create natural looks and you can create something colorful. So they are quite versatile. A lot of the time I like to go in with a really dark eyeshadow in my crease to add some dimension to a look. And I feel like with this palette you'd probably have to pick up another one if you wanted to do that. Obviously I haven't used a lot of the other shades in this, so I don't know how they show up on the eye, but so far this seems to be the darkest one there is. So once I've packed that in my crease and blended the edges, I'm going to go in with the shade B2. This is pretty much a lighter version of this color. I'm going to wipe my brush off on a piece of tissue. So I always have a piece of tissue with me. This is how I get the different colors to actually show up on my eyes. I know a lot of you say you'll use the same brush and it'll go muddy. It's probably because you're dipping into one color, putting it on, and then dipping into another color with the same brush without wiping it off and then sticking it on. You're not going to have much difference in color if you do that. So I'm going into the shade B12 after wiping my brush off, and I'm going to apply it with the same method that I just did this one. So I'm picking up some of the color and I'm packing it on and blending it out. So I've now packed that color and blended the edges. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fluffier blending brush and I'm going to use this to blend the inner corner right by my nose. So I'm just going to blend it upwards, just so it is not patchy. So now I'm going back in with the first shade I used. I always do this and I just re-blend that. So this is the primer I'm going to be using to cut my crease. This is my absolute favorite thing to use to cut my crease. It is amazing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with my cut crease brush and this primer, and I'm going to mark out where I want to cut my crease. So the reason I do this is because a lot of the times any concealer you will put over eyeshadow, the concealer will mix with the eyeshadow and your base won't come out as clean. So I prefer to do this. For instance, as you can see, I've packed a yellow on here. If I just had to cut the crease, the yellow wouldn't show up as bright because it would be showing the purpley plum color underneath. So once I have lined out where I'm going to cut my crease, I feel like it's pretty even. I'm going to go in with a wet wipe and I'm going to clean everything up. So what I've just done is relined my crease, and I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in and pat the primer in. So what I'm just going to do is make sure that all of this eyeshadow is patted down properly. So another thing I would like to say is I never set my concealer or my eye primers with powder. So if you find it helps you blend better, go ahead and do it. But it does affect the payoff as there is no tackiness, so your eyeshadow doesn't really have anything to stick to. So now what I'm going to do is go in with the yellow shade. So that is the shade D2. This is so pretty. It is a proper pastel yellow. I'm going to go ahead with a flat fluffy brush and I'm going to pack this color on the first half of my cut crease. So I'm going to avoid the top of the crease while packing this on with a brush, simply just because this brush isn't going to help me get defined lines, so I could just mess this over my cut crease and mess it up, if that made any sense. Now I'm going to take a flat brush and I'm going to pack that right at the top of the crease. The next shade I'm going to be going into is E1, and then I'm going to go into the shade C4, which is a pastel purple. So what I've done is just cleaned up the edges with some concealer. I used a small fluffy brush to blend out the colors on my eyelids. So I'm going to go ahead and use that same small fluffy brush It is the Morphe M149, and I'm going to pack the same color I packed in my crease on my bottom waterline. I'm going to go in with some mascara and lashes. So the lashes I'm going to be using today are the Carver The Lashes Baby Lashes. And the mascara I'm going to be using is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Lash Brag. So I'm going to quickly apply some lash glue to my lashes, and while that dries I'm going to apply some lipstick and some highlight, and then we're done. The lipstick I'm applying today is the Revlon Super Lustrous Lipstick in 044 Bare Affair. So it is just a pretty nude color. This is one of my favorite lipsticks. It keeps your lips so moisturized and I really like the color. I've just applied the loose highlighter in Vegas. This is a really pretty champagne kind of highlighter. So I've just popped on some lashes and this is the final look. I really love how this came out. Aside from the few issues I had with this palette yesterday, I will say I really do like this palette. It is probably my favorite of the collection. The colors are really pigmented, they blend really well. I mean, as you can see, I didn't have any issues. So yeah, overall I have really positive thoughts about this palette and would definitely recommend it if you are thinking about buying it. I'm definitely excited to use it again. I 100% want to incorporate some of these glitters into a look. I think they are stunning. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye!